can we separate the art from the artist?
Yeah, it's not really part of the trans debate. This is Rower's BBC Radio 4 presenter brackets J.K. Rowling alongside sex offenders R. Kelly and Eric Gill and brands her views on gender identity very unpopular. So this was Tom Sutcliffe on the Radio 4 show Front Row. Now, so it was a bit tasteless to link it with Eric Gill. I mean, Eric Gill, if you don't know, he's an incestuous sex offender. There's a statue, paedophile. There's a statue of him outside Broadcasting House at the BBC, which, I mean, you could argue BBC housed sex offenders for years, so for them that's a kind of crest or coat of arms. But that statue probably shouldn't be there. But what they did, they were discussing how do you feel about the artists when they've done terrible things like that. Then they went on to... And I'm actually going to defend the BBC now, because then they went on to talk about J.K. Rowling.
Well, R. Kelly as well, who, you know, sex traffic.
Yes, yeah. And they linked it, then they moved on.
And also did that annoying song, I Believe I Can Fly.
Sorry, and they mentioned Hitler? Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
No, it's fine. It's really complicated. Because what it is, all the internet's saying what this guy... So it was Tom Sutcliffe, and they're saying what he did was tastelessly link J.K. Rowling with this. It was a bit of a crass transition, but the other thing he did, he said that he cited J.K. Rowling as having a clearly very unpopular opinion regarding gender identity, which he admitted later was wrong to say. Her opinion is actually probably popular. It's certainly a valid opinion. So he admitted that on their show Feedback. And he also made it sound like he said that now that she's been categorised as a bigot, what he was actually doing, to be fair to him, there was this guy, Eric Hatala Mathers, on there, who had written a book where he had described her like that. He had taken a sample of American academics who, with sort of wacky views and their take on J.K. Rowling, and the presenter was trying to sort of summarise that. So he later clarified on this Feedback show he wasn't trying to attack Rowling, he was just trying to sort of interview the author, and he wasn't careful enough about how he expressed it. So I'm actually going to defend Sutcliffe, because someone called it Peter Sutcliffe on Twitter, not Peter Sutcliffe, that would be a very different show. But so actually, I don't think he really did try to attack Rowling. He basically, it can happen to all of us on live TV. Or live radio, he clumsily kind of interrogated this guy and made it sound like he was...
Although it strikes me as another sort of mainstream broadcaster, a public figure that throws J.K. Rowling under the bus, it seems to be the fashionable thing to do.
Yeah, and the J.K. Rowling is someone who has classed herself out of being a billionaire by donating so much of her money to good causes. Yeah. And when he says, her very unpopular opinion regarding gender identity, what she is fighting for women's rights. That's all she's doing. She's saying, yes, trans people live your life, whatever, but there are some areas, women's prisons, women's sports, women's spaces, where these rights come into conflict with each other, and we need to discuss it. And that's not been happening for years. And because she's dared to say that, the death threats... I mean, even today she's posting on Twitter, the death threats she gets, the rape threats she gets, just for standing up and saying, wait a minute, can we have a conversation about where these rights conflict? And
yeah, and I 100% agree with that, and the way Rowling's been treated is terrible. All I'm simply saying is this perhaps wasn't an example of it, because I've listened to both the original show and the show where he apologises when I could have been watching Man United this afternoon, and really all he was... the stupid thing he did, it's a bit of a dumb question. He asked if there's a major philosophical distinction between artists who've committed crimes and those who simply have unpopular opinions. Of course, there's a massive difference. It was a way to just... interview the person, and he should have put it differently. It was.
I get your point, and I actually sent in a complaint to the BBC about this particular show, because, like you say, it was clumsy. And when you're dealing with something like this, and the pile-ons that she gets,
right,
you can't. He shouldn't be clumsy.
I mean, briefly, can we stop saying that J.K. Rowling has views or opinions on biological sex?
Yeah.
These are not views or opinions, are they?
Absolutely.
I mean, you can just state that there are two biological sexes because that's what we were taught at school, and it's what any encyclopedia will tell you. And I think calling the remarks that she has made views or opinions is a bit like with the Jimmy Carr scandal, going, have you heard Jimmy Carr's comments recently about the Holocaust? No, he was making a joke. She was stating fact. Robert Winston, one of the most respected experts in reproduction in the world, Professor Robert Winston, said on Question Time, I'll get hate mail for this, but there are just two sexes. You can't change your sex. Not only is it your reproductive organs and your testosterone and puberty, every cell in your body.
Your chromosomes. But this is the thing. He says he might get some hate mail. No, I'd be curious to see how much hate mail he got, because she was one of the first people to stand up, certainly at her level, and do it, and that has allowed other people to have this conversation.
But I'm confused because you're a bit girly.
I don't know what you possibly mean. I don't even know where that's coming from. Not that there's anything wrong with being a girl, or trans, or anything.
There's nothing about Josh Howie that is
nothing wrong with anyone.
There's nothing wrong with anybody.
He's fluid as it comes.